What's up YouTube? D-Star back again. This time we're gonna do 5 tips on making your mix master sound bigger, louder, cleaner. What did Daft Punk say? Louder, faster, better, stronger? I'm sorry. Anyways, here we go. 5 tips, and we're gonna start with number 1. And that's the Munson-Fletcher curve. And you're probably like, wait, what? It's called the equal loudness contour. And what it comes down to is one simple point. Our ears do not hear everything at the same equal frequency. So they did this study in like the 30s or something like that, and basically measured out that areas that are more sensitive to speech, like 3,000 to 5,000 hertz, our ears hear a lot better. That's why, like, if you have a pet dog, you can like blow a dog whistle and you can't really hear it, or it's really annoying to you if you can hear it. And the dog just goes, whoa! It blows the dog's mind, right? But to us, it's nothing. Well, our ears might not be able to hear it because our ears hear differently. And in our world, 3,000 to 5,000 hertz is key for loudness, most annoying, and most powerful frequency. So you guys have a fucking clue as to what I'm talking about. I'll give you a little example. Let's pop up an Ableton with some pink noise. Okay, and here we are, pink noise. And why did I choose pink noise, you say? Because it's pretty equal on the spectrum. But we don't perceive equal to necessarily be equal, and here's how I'm gonna prove it to you. Let's do a 15 decibel boost around 3,500 to 5,000. And listen to how annoying this is. Right? Catches your ear right away. You can hear that, it's clear, it's louder. Without it, boom. Now let's move this down to like 120, where we don't hear as clearly or as sensitively. See what I'm saying? So what does this mean for your mix and your master? Pretty simple. Sub bass is going to take up more room in the mix to get the same level of impact that maybe a frequency like 3,000 hertz, like a lead or something like that, will maybe be perceived as. So if you have a song that's just kicking a bass, and you just have like this clever low bass line and just a kick drum, you can't compare your loudness to a song that's like one of those super loud future bass songs with like those crazy super saws and chords that are super bright, pushed to like crazy amounts, squared out in the master. You can't compare the two because our ears are going to hear those synths that are much more high frequency and mid-range a lot louder than they're going to hear a deep bass line. So that's key, and if you want your mix to be louder, more impactful in the club, you're going to need to think consciously about what instruments you're using and what you're playing in the song to make it loud. Therefore, sub bass, no matter what, is never going to be as loud at that same 15 decibel boost or level like I showed you before than maybe a high frequency synth, you know? So that's tip number 1. One last note on that, by the way, is a really good example of some of the loudest, best masters in EDM right now are Oliver, which is soundcloud.com/weareoliver. Some of the illest producers in the game right now. Listen to their mixes, their masters, and listen to how they use sub bass, and they don't use a lot of sub bass, and the mixes sound so full and so fat. Take note of that. Compare their level of sub bass against something that you feel is kind of bass heavy, and then listen to the loudness. You can do that by putting them both in Ableton and listening to them at the same volume. Or even on your iPod, or who uses an iPod anymore? I mean, even on your phone or even just listening on YouTube, just make sure you're listening to the same volume. Anyways, let's keep it moving to point number 2. Okay, and this one's going to be a little bit more obvious for you guys that I've been producing for a while, but I still get mixes all the time that are left with all this junk in it. High pass, high pass, high pass. And I know there's a big school of people that say don't high pass everything, but at the end of the day, if you're making dance music and you want to get those super loud mixes that you've been comparing your stuff to, you're going to need to high pass. Let me show you a quick example in Syrup. Okay, one piece of the puzzle for sure, definitely not the fattest super saw of all time. Let's do a high pass. You don't really hear a huge difference, right? And we know in the song, we're not going to leave this super saw exactly the way it is right now. We're going to probably layer it, we're going to put a bass line underneath, so on and so forth. But when I put that high pass on and I cut it up to the fundamental, listen to what I'm cutting out. Let's flip this upside down and let's take a listen. Awesome, right? There's a little bit of noise in there that you don't really necessarily notice. You can hear it, but it's not gonna make or break your song. That's the stuff I'm talking about carving out specifically. Why? Well, because let's say you have 50, 60 tracks in your final mix, right? And you have this completely full song, and you're finally at a point where you're like, damn, I'm gonna need to mix this and master this, and I just can't get my bass hitting right. Well, imagine 60 of these. Let me play it again really quick. Look at that level right there. Imagine 60 of those just built up in your mix, taking up all of your room in the mix, right where the sub bass sits. And then you're sitting there wondering, damn, why doesn't my sub bass hit right? Well, you've got your answer, at least part of it. Tip number 3. This one's gonna be a video of its own, but I really wanna put it out there because I know some of the more technical producers on here are immediately gonna be like, damn, I heard about that, but I didn't know to do it. And that's called clipping versus limiting, clipping the transients. What does this have to do with anything? I thought clipping was really bad for you. Well, first off, this is kind of a pro tip, and we're gonna talk about this in a future video, so don't get too worried. But if you know what I'm talking about, it's hard clipping. Little quick history lesson recently. Since mixes have been getting really loud in the last 10, 15, whoever knows how long, people have been trying to figure out and innovate ways. Mastering engineers are trying to figure out ways to make mixes more transparent, more dynamic, and louder. And one of the tricks, when they ran to outboard gear to do their EQing and compression, when they'd run it back in, they found that if they're clipping their DAC, expensive word for sound card, these guys have like $6,000 sound cards and interfaces, right? Like Prism DACs and audio interfaces. And what they figured out is that they ran them in the red and clipped the transients of the drums in the master down a couple dB. They didn't have to limit them, which kind of made it sound weaker. And it was more transparent, and they're able to get louder mixes. So how do you do this on software, you might ask? Well, pretty simple. You need a hard clipper plugin. One of the most popular ones is called K-Clip, and you can just slowly bring it down to clip the transients of your drums and stuff like that in your EDM mix a couple decibels. Now, I just want you to try that, then limit it. And then I want you to take the same amount of gain and put it on a separate limiter and A and B them together. So just clip the drums, clip the top of the mix like 3 decibels with like K-Clip. Again, we're gonna do this in a future video. It's beyond the scope of like just talking about this for 10 minutes. Some of you guys will get it. If not, don't worry, I'll do a video on it. But try clipping it 3 decibels, then add like 6 decibels of limiting with your favorite limiter. Then use your favorite limiter and push the same amount, like 9 decibels in the limiter, A and B it. I guarantee you that kick drum is gonna knock a bit better when you do the K-clip or the hard clipping. So, clipping versus limiting. Clipping can be good if done right. Try it. Tip number 4. One of the biggest amateur mistakes I hear in mixes and masters from amateur producers and people that sometimes are kind of good is overcompression. One quick way to avoid that and still get a really loud mix is to compress in stages. Instead of compressing one, and this is kind of similar to tip number 3, instead of compressing your drums all in one bus, like 10 decibels, maybe you gotta compress it in groups. Maybe you compress the snare drum a little bit, like 2 or 3 decibels at the channel. Then go to the bus and compress the bus 2 or 3 decibels. Then maybe on the master, compress 2 or 3 decibels. And you're gonna get that 9, 10 decibels of compression you're looking for without slamming one compressor. Compress in stages. Don't compress once and slam it. Sometimes that can sound good if done right as well, but generally speaking, overcompression ruins mixes quick. Compress in stages. I compress the fuck out of my mixes, but a lot of the times it's done a couple dB here, couple dB there, and then it all adds up to one really fat picture. Well, at least I like to think so, right? So compress, 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 not just one compressor, slam it. Try it sometime. Open up 2 or 3 compressors on your drum bus, and then open up another one, slam it 10 decibels, and A and B it compared to 2 or 3 on 3 compressors. See how much cleaner it sounds. You'll see for yourself immediately there's a distinct difference in how they sound. Tip number 5. For tip number 5, we're just gonna say one final note. Make sure you're layering everything properly and you have a fat sound. You can process something all day, but at the end of the day, it's just not that great of a sound. You're polishing shit. And I know you've heard that before, but let me give you an example I dealt with earlier last week mixing a friend's project. I had a mix come in and there was a lot of chords and the artist wanted it to sound really big. But there was only triads in the mix, like for the MIDI channels, and it was like a big piano thing and it was supposed to sound really huge, but he was just playing 3 notes. Could you imagine Elton John showing up to a stadium about to play some huge concert and he only played 3 little triads and he was expecting it to sound big because the mic wasn't right? Come on, man. Stack them. Those lower 2 bass notes and those keys are always big. You can always carve them out in the EQ if they collide with your bass, right? So stack, stack, stack. Make sure your synths are stacked and you cover the entire frequency spectrum when you do this. And it's going to make a huge difference for your sounds and your overall mix. Then when you process and compress everything together, it's going to sound super big compared to processing it, you know, with just a little dinky triad. So layer, make sure you cover things in different octaves. Let's say maybe you play one super saw up here from one serum, then maybe you play a silent, an octave down, and you spread out all the chords and you layer everything. Use your ears and just make sure you fill out the entire spectrum. And with those 5 tips, I hope I can help you get your masters, your mixes bigger, better, and stronger. Or whatever. That said, if you got enough something out of this, I hope you can like and subscribe to the video. And if you want to leave a comment, if you have questions, let me elaborate. I love chatting with you guys, and thank you guys so much for the support. We're going to crack 500 subscribers, and I'm super hyped about that. See you guys.